Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Another Queen & Company kit I decided to use again is the Love Monster Kit. This kit is absolutely adorable with all the different dies for creating sweet little monsters. I have used this kit before and I'll provide a link in the description box if you want to check out that video. But I'll quickly go through everything that is included in the kit. There is a full 6x6 paper pad, 24 sheets. This is the Happy Hearts paper collection. There are a ton of dies. There's 2 monster bodies and then there's all of the little pieces. There are legs, some arms, little antenna, some wings, little hearts, mouths, all kinds of different pieces to create your monsters. Then there is a full stamp set. These are all sentiments and they're super cute, perfect for all of those little monster cards. There are 2 sheets of eyeball stickers. One of them is Wiggly Eye and then the other are epoxy. The kit will also include some of the gloobers. So this is what you use to attach the pom-poms to your card. There are 3 different sizes of the gloobers, and what I have here are actually the full packs, but the kit will include enough for all of the pom-poms. And then last are the pom-poms. There are 3 different colors in 2 different sizes. Aren't these fun, bright colors? So this is what you'll use to create your adorable little monsters. So that's everything that's included in the kit, and we'll go ahead and get started with my first card. I'm going to use a sketch by Sweet Sunday. This is number 151. I'm using this diagonal stripe paper for the background and then also adding in a couple of tone-on-tone or muted designs to match with that pattern paper. I like to use multiple pattern papers together, and I just try not to use too many busy designs. So using these muted or tone-on-tone patterns with that busier background makes it so they're not competing against each other. And I will be layering all of this paper with some cardstock. The cardstock is not included in the kit. This is just something I always have on hand since I love matted layers. So now that I have all of those layered together, I'm assembling the card, following this sketch fairly closely. And whenever I have some small pieces of pattern paper, I like to add them on the inside of the card just for a little extra detail. Now instead of the circle that's indicated on the sketch, I am going to replace that with an oval die cut. That way I'll have a larger area to have my little monster. But first I'm going to go ahead and stamp a sentiment. This is Little Monster, Big Heart. I'm going to stamp that in some pink ink. I just cut a little fishtail on the end. And my first impression wasn't very solid, so I did stamp it one more time. I just want to make sure there's enough room to put it next to that oval, since that oval is a little bit larger than the circle that's indicated on the sketch. I want to make sure I'm not going to cover up any of my sentiment. And before I adhere the oval onto the card, I am going to add just a thin strip of cardstock on the right-hand side, simply because part of that oval is going off of those other layers and I don't want it to droop down at all. So now I can go ahead and adhere that in place and start building my little monster. And I'm just going to put some ATG on the back side of the little monster body and then start adding the arms, the antenna, the legs. And I'm just holding it up to the oval to see how tall I wanted to have my little monster, make sure it's all going to fit in place. And this little monster is going to be hugging a heart. So I have his arms or her arms out. I guess it could be a her if it's pink. I want to make sure I left enough room so she'll be able to hug onto the little heart that I have cut out. Just using a liquid adhesive, making sure to get all of the little pieces adhered down. So once those are in place, assemble the mouth. So there's 2 pieces to put together the little mouth, but you could also just use the solid piece. But this way you can see the little teeth inside the mouth. So now I'm going to start adding all of the pom-poms. Probably hard to see on video, but the body die cut has little embossed circles all over it, so it has an indication of where you'll place the pom-poms. So now I have the Gloober sheets, and I'm using the largest size with the largest size pom-poms, and I'm sticking the pom-pom onto the Gloober and then peeling it up and then placing it onto the die cut. And when you do this, you want to get them nice and snug. So tuck them in there really tight, and then just keep going until you have that full body. And I did speed this up quite a bit since you're going to see me build a few monsters, and that's a lot of pom-poms. So there it is, all assembled together. And now you can add the rest of the pieces to assemble the monster. So I have the mouth glued on. I'm using one of the googly eyes as the largest size. And now I'm going to work on this heart. I cut this heart out of Queen & Company's glitter foam, which it is self-adhesive. I did notice later that the heart was coming up, so I did add some glue underneath there. Use some liquid adhesive for the arms, and I just held that in place for a while with an acrylic block on top. Now I'm just going to finish off the card, adding a few stitched circle die cuts and then some embellishments. So I have a nice assortment of Queen & Company bling, of some of the hearts, some petite posies, and then also one of the spirals. So there is my finished card, and isn't that monster just adorable? Now moving on to card number 2, the sketches by Queen & Company, and all of Queen & Company's sketches were designed to coordinate with their foundation die sets, so it makes it super easy and quick to assemble a card. For the background paper, I'm using this checkered paper. So this card is going to be all pink and white and a little bit of gray. So I layered that in some cardstock. I cut that large banner out of some white pearlescent paper. And now I have my little monster to assemble. And for this card, I'm not going to use any of the pom-poms. I cut out the body using some more of glitter foam by Queen & Company. I'm just attaching the arms and the legs, and on this little monster it's going to have little gray horns on the top of its head. I'm going to put some liquid adhesive on the back. That glitter foam is self-adhesive, but I'd still added just a little more glue just to make sure it's going to stay on my card. Get that all pressed into place. Had a little bit of glue seeping out from one of the arms, so I just wiped that away. Go ahead and assemble the little mouth. And then I'll attach that to the monster. And for this monster, I'm going to use the epoxy eyeball stickers. I think this is the medium size. Maybe that's the small size. And I'll go ahead and stamp my sentiment on this little stitched sentiment piece. This is, "Will you be my cuddle monster?" I love the sentiments that are included in all of Queen & Company's kits. They always just come up with great little sayings. So I did decide to layer this piece on some more of that cardstock, and then I'm just trimming around those little curved corners. And then I decided to add some foam dimensional tape just to pop up that sentiment. That way it's fairly even with the dimension from the glitter foam. I add that small strip of pattern paper on the inside of the card. And then I cut out some stars. These are using some of Queen & Company's foundation dies. I changed my mind on that largest star and then cut out a medium star instead. And I just used some silver mirror paper for all of those stars. So I'm going to pop them up using some real thin foam dimensional squares. So once they get those all in place, I'm going to finish off the card with some Queen & Company bling. So I have a few different varieties. I have some of the hearts, some frosties, and then also some of the jelly gems. I love how this card turned out, all of that pink and the white. I think it looks really cute. And this is just a great way to use those dies without adding the pom-poms. So now moving on to card number 3. This is a sketch by Viva la Verve. This is their November 2017 sketch. So I'm kind of changing colors. This is one really nice thing about the Happy Hearts paper collection. Some of the papers have more of a patriotic look, and I think those are my favorites, even though I love pink. The background paper has blue and gray polka dots and then some red hearts sprinkled on there. And I'm going to layer that in some blue cardstock. And then all of the other pattern papers are a tone-on-tone design. And I did a little cheat on this gray chevron paper. Instead of cutting out that full 2-inch strip, I just used some smaller pieces, put them on the outside of that layered cardstock. Since you're only going to see maybe about 1/2 inch of it on each side. That saves some paper, and then I didn't have to cut up a whole nother piece. So then I layered up some red polka dots, and then there's some little blue hearts. And then instead of that rectangle piece that's on the sketch, I'm going to use a tag. And I cut out this tag with some white pearlescent paper. And then I'm going to build my little monster right on top of that tag. I'm using the horns again on this monster, but I turned them the opposite direction. And if you push them together, they form a little heart in between, which is really sweet. I'm going to have this monster hugging the white heart. And I realized later I didn't leave enough room for the arms to reach all the way around once you add the pom-poms. So just be aware if you're going to have that monster hugging anything, leave sufficient room, so extend those arms out just a little bit more, but it still worked out. So now I'm going to go ahead and start adding the pom-poms. I'm using the largest size again, and then also that larger size gluber. So just taking a pom-pom, pressing it onto the gluber, and then just peeling it up. I'll speed this part up again since you're just going to keep seeing me add pom-poms. And this is one of the smaller bodies, so it doesn't need quite as many pom-poms. And it may seem like they're too big, but just make sure to get those really snug, and you want that nice and solid, otherwise you have little gaps in there. And then kind of give it a good press down to make sure they're all going to stay in place. So now here's where I realize my arms are just a little bit too short, but it still works. So I have the heart cut out in some white cardstock so that I could put my sentiment on there. I stamped the word hugs in some red ink. Use some liquid adhesive to adhere the heart. I'm going to add the rest of the face of the monster at the mouth, and then using the tiny little eyeballs. I'm trying to get those arms stretched and holding, and it did take me quite a while to get those held in place. I wanted to just keep popping up on me. So make sure to have sufficient glue and then put some kind of weight on top while that glue dries. So eventually I did get it all glued in place. Now I'm going to add those little eyeballs. Then I'm going to use some of Queen & Company's trio trims to add to the top of the tag. And I love this trio trim that has a little bit of an iridescent thread throughout it. Adds a nice sparkle. So I just did a double loop, pulled it through, and then just cut the ends. And then to make sure that trim isn't going to come off later, I just put a small piece of red line tape on the back side. And then I decided I'm going to pop up all of this tag. So I'm using some foam dimensional tape. So this card is going to have a lot of dimension. Not one that would go through the mail very easily, but it's perfect to hand deliver to somebody. So now just to finish off the card, I'm using some more of Queen & Company's bling, sticking with those patriotic colors. Have some more of the bullseyes, petite posies, and also some of the frosties. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 3. So next up is card number 4. I'm going to use another Queen & Company sketch. I think this is one of my favorite Queen & Company sketches. I've used it quite a bit. I'm going back to that pink color scheme. There's a little bit of gray that'll be in there on the monsters, but otherwise it's all pink. I'm using one of Queen & Company's border dies. Just taped it to the bottom of this pattern paper and then ran it through my die cut machine to have this fun little zigzag stitched edge on the bottom. Layering all of these pieces in this lovely pink cardstock. Go ahead and adhere my card front onto a card base before I add any other elements. I use some more white pearlescent paper for that background behind the monster. And then I have some light pink cardstock that I'll use for the sentiment. And I was going to do Happy Valentine's Day, but then I realized it was too large for this sentiment piece that I cut out. So I'm going to change sentiments. Switched it to I'm Wild About You. I stamp that in some pink ink. I'll add some foam dimensional tape underneath it, pop that up. I have all of those little monster pieces already cut out. It does take some extra time to cut out all of these pieces, but it's worth it because these monsters turn out so adorable. This monster is going to have a pink body and then gray arms, legs, and little horns. And then I also cut out some of the wings using that chevron tone-on-tone paper. I'm just trying to figure out placement on my arms because this little monster is also going to hold a balloon. So I just find it easier to put that ATG on the back side and then line up my pieces. Obviously you can do it another way if that works better for you. So put my liquid adhesive on the back side. Make sure I have my arms where I want them before I glue them down. And then I'm going to attach this balloon string, and I cut this one out of some of the silver mirror cardstock. And then the balloon is cut out of some of Queen & Company's glitter foam in some beautiful pink. I'll assemble the little mouth. I love the little teeth that show on these monsters. It's so cute. But before I can attach the mouth, I got to put my pom-poms in place. So I still use the largest size pom-pom. I think those are my favorite, so I do tend to stick with those. The kit does include a lot of pom-poms, but if you feel you want some more, Queen & Company does sell refills on their pom-poms, and they actually have individual colors as well. So I will add a link in the description box if you want to check out the other options. So now that I have all of the pom-poms in place on this sweet little pink monster, I can finish assembling its face. I'll go ahead and attach the mouth. And then this monster is going to have the largest size googly eyes. Isn't she super sweet? Put my little piece of pattern paper on the inside of the card. And now I'm going to use some of Queen & Company's foil for this little circle piece. So I'm using one of their Gloober sheets. This is a full 6x6 sheet of sticky adhesive. Cut out a small piece, laid it on some white cardstock, and then I'm using some Scotch tape to remove the backing, that clear side, because it's really hard to get off. But using a piece of Scotch tape just lifts that backing right off. So now for the foil, this is so easy to use. You don't need any machines. You don't need to heat set it. It adheres to anything sticky. So I just pressed it onto that sticky side of the Gloober, pulled it up, and then I have this lovely foil. And then I just ran that piece through the die cut machine with that circle die, so you still have all of that stitched detail. So now just to finish off the card, I'm going to add some Queen & Company bling. I'm using one of the bullseyes, this pink bullseye, but part of it was going to hang off of the edge, so I did put just a small piece of dimension on the top portion just to keep it even on the card. And I'm using some jelly gems and then also some frosties. So there is my finished card, and that is card number 4. So now moving on to my final card. This is card number 5. I'm using that diagonal stripe paper for the background. Then I have some white pearlescent paper that I used a scalloped rectangle die to cut out. Stamping the sentiment directly on there. I did decide to use my Mini Misty just to make sure I got a solid impression. Layer that background piece on some pink cardstock and then add my pearlescent paper on top of that. And I'm going to go ahead and add this card front onto a card base before I continue on adding my little monsters. I'll make sure I have the right side up. I'll put that pattern paper strip on the inside. And now here are all the little monster bodies. So this card is going to have 2 different monsters, one in pink and one in blue. And I'm not going to use pom-poms. These dies are just as cute even without the pom-poms. I actually liked that little stitched, not stitched, but embossed detail with all the little circles that indicates where you should place the pom-poms. I think it adds a nice detail to the monsters. So these two monsters are going to be holding hands. So it is a little trickier to make sure to get everything lined up so that their hands are actually still holding. I'm going to start with the pink one, trying to get to that arm in place. And then I'm working on putting their fingers together so they interlock. So it actually looks like they're holding hands. So I think I've got both of those arms where I want them. So I'm going to add the liquid adhesive to the back of the pink monster. I'll put her down, still trying to check placement on the blue monster. And then I'll work those little hands together. I get the glue on the back of the blue monster, but before I really press that one in place, I'm just trying to get those hands touching. So they only have 3 little fingers, so you don't have as many to, hook together. But I did get them touching, and I think it's so sweet that they're holding hands now. So now I can continue to assemble the rest of them. I put a little pink sparkly bow on the girl, and I did 2 different mouths for each of them. There's the 2 different sets that are included in the kit, so I thought they should have a different set each. One has the teeth on the top, and then the other has the teeth on the bottom. And then I'm using the epoxy stickers for both of them. And I have a little bit of glue on my fingers, so I couldn't get the eyeball to release from my finger right away. So I think because of that, it just kept popping off. So I'm just going to add some extra liquid adhesive for that other eye. And then I did wipe my finger off screen, trying to get some of that glue off of it. Much easier that way. So there are my 2 happy little monsters. And I'm going to add some of these little heart banners that are included in the kit. This is one of the dies. And this is really fun to have the monsters hold as well. But I decided for this card, I thought it would be fun to decorate the top of the card with a little heart garland. So I attached 3 of those, and I'll just finish off the card with some Queen & Company bling. So I have another little assortment. I have some iridescent goosebumps, some frosties, and also some jelly gems. I did put 2 of the jelly gems inside the heart antenna on the little boy. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 5. Now here's just a quick recap of the 5 cards I made using Queen & Company's Love Monster Kit. This kit is absolutely adorable. I always enjoy using it, and it's fun to add those monsters to a variety of different cards. I will have links provided in the description box if you are interested in purchasing this kit. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.